You think you're ready for the next disaster? You're probably wrong. Most people are. Over half of Americans believe they're prepared, but the data shows they're delusional. When things collapse, their stockpiles will be useless. They bought the wrong gear. Forget what you knew about the dollar store. The price hikes you've been complaining about actually forced them to stock better quality survival equipment. I'm talking about gear that can genuinely save your life. Stuff they never carried before. While everyone else is dropping hundreds on brand name equipment, a few smart people are building superior kits for a fraction of the cost. During Hurricane Helene, a family survived for 11 days. Completely cut off, using just 3 items from Dollar Tree. Total cost less than $5. Today I'm showing you the 15 items you need to buy right now. I've tested them against gear costing 5 times as much, and the results are shocking. Number 12 is a $1.50 item that performed a critical function most preppers completely overlook. These supplies are changing fast, and they might be gone next month. Let's get straight to what actually works. Point 1. The transparent tarp deception. Let's start with an item most people walk past without a second thought. The clear plastic shower curtain liner. You can get one at the dollar store for about $1.50. I can hear you now. A shower curtain? For survival? It sounds ridiculous. But this is exactly the kind of flawed thinking that gets people into trouble. Preppers love to brag about their expensive, military-grade tarps and Silneen shelters, but they're completely missing the point. A simple, transparent shower curtain liner has a strategic advantage that those high-dollar items lack. It's see-through. In a crisis, that feature isn't just a convenience. It's a game-changer. Think about it. You need to build a quick, effective shelter from the rain. You can rig a clear liner into a lean-to or an A-frame just as easily as a standard tarp. The difference is, you can see what's happening outside. You can spot threats, monitor weather changes, and maintain situational awareness without exposing yourself to the elements. During Hurricane Helene, families used these to stay dry for days, reporting that they held up against significant wind and rain when secured properly. For less than $2, they had a functional shelter that also served as a window to their surroundings. But the real genius of this item is its ability to create safe drinking water through solar pasteurization. This is a technique that survival manuals cover, but they often assume you have specialized gear. You don't need it. Find some clear plastic bottles, fill them with questionable water from a stream or puddle, and lay them on a dark surface to absorb heat. Now, stretch the clear shower curtain liner over the top, creating a mini greenhouse. This simple setup traps solar radiation, dramatically increasing the temperature of the water. On a sunny day, you can easily get the water to 150–100. Holding it at that temperature for just a few minutes is enough to pasteurize it, killing off dangerous pathogens like Giardia, E. coli, and cholera. Your expensive, opaque emergency tarp can't do that. It blocks the sunlight. So for $50 you have a multifunctional tool that provides both shelter and a method for water purification. The applications don't stop there. Cut it up and you have instant ponchos for your family, a rain cover for your backpack, or a vapor barrier for your shelter floor to keep ground moisture from soaking you. It can even be used to patch a broken window in your home during a storm. The key is to grab the lightweight version for maximum versatility. Just don't store it in direct sunlight long term, as UV rays will degrade the plastic over a few months. Point 2. The fire-ready hydration tool. Next up is the single-wall stainless steel water bottle, which you can find for $5 to $7. Pay close attention to the details here, because this is where people make a critical, potentially explosive mistake. You are specifically looking for a single-wall bottle. Your fancy, double-wall insulated Yeti or Hydro flask that you paid a small fortune for is not a survival tool. It's a liability. If you put one of those in a fire, the air trapped between the two walls will heat up, expand, and turn your expensive bottle into a shrapnel-filled pipe bomb. I've seen it happen, and it's not pretty. The single-wall bottle, however, is one of the most versatile and important pieces of gear you can own. Its primary survival function isn't just to hold water, it's to boil it. This is your ticket to unlimited safe drinking water. You can scoop water from the murkiest pond, drop the bottle directly into the coals of a fire, and bring it to a rolling boil in minutes. This process kills virtually all biological contaminants, making otherwise deadly water safe to drink. This one capability makes it more valuable than any water filter, which can clog, freeze, or break. This bottle isn't just for boiling water, it's your all-in-one cooking pot. You can heat up soup, cook rice, or warm canned food directly in it. In a situation where resources are scarce, you don't need to carry a separate pot and pan. This one tool does it all. After you've boiled your water for purification, screw the lid on tight, wrap the bottle in a bandana or spare cloth, and you've just created a personal heater. Tucked into your jacket or sleeping bag, it will radiate heat for hours, providing a critical defense against hypothermia, one of the biggest silent killers in a survival scenario. The value proposition here is impossible to ignore. A name-brand bottle with the exact same single-wall construction and functionality will cost you upwards of $25 or $30. The dollar store version provides identical performance for a fraction of the cost. Here's a pro tip. Before you pack it away, use a permanent marker to draw a line about 3/4 of the way up the bottle. This is your max fill line for boiling. It leaves enough room for the water to expand and bubble without boiling over and wasting your precious resource. These have become incredibly popular, and supply is often limited. Find out your local store's restock day and get there early. Point 3. The ultimate cotton multi-tool. Let's talk about the humble cotton bandana. For $150, this is one of the highest value items you can get, but only if you know what to do with it. Most people think of it as a sweatband or a dust mask, and they're not wrong, but that's like using a smartphone only to make calls. The reality is, a 100% cotton bandana has a staggering number of documented survival uses. We're talking dozens. During Hurricane Helene, there were confirmed reports of people using them as tourniquets to stop life-threatening bleeding when emergency services were days away. That single, simple application saved lives. In a medical context, its uses are vast. You can fold it into a triangle to create a sling for an injured arm, roll it tightly to make a pressure dressing for a deep wound, or use it as padding for a splint. The bright color of many bandanas also makes it an excellent signaling device. Its utility in water procurement is just as critical. While it won't purify water on its own, it serves as an essential pre-filter. Layer a few bandanas inside a funnel or cone and pour murky water through them. It will trap a significant amount of sediment, leaves, and other large particulates. The water will still need to be boiled or chemically treated, but pre-filtering makes the final purification process more effective and the water far more palatable. When the air is thick with smoke from wildfires or dust from a collapsed structure, a water-dampened bandana folded over your nose and mouth becomes an effective respirator, filtering out a surprising amount of harmful particulates. This simple trick kept people breathing cleaner air during the hazardous conditions following recent disasters. Here's a more advanced technique. Melt down some wax, even from cheap dollar store candles, and soak the bandana in it. Once it dries, you can cut it into small strips. Each strip is now a waterproof, long-burning fire starter. One bandana can yield 20 or more of these tinder tabs, giving you a reliable way to start a fire even in damp conditions. The crucial detail here is to check the tag. The bandana must be 100% cotton. Polyester or cotton blend fabrics will melt instead of char, won't absorb water properly, and are generally useless for most survival tasks. Stock up on these and color code them. Red for first aid, blue for water tasks. Never mix them up. For $15, you can have a stack of 10, equipping you for dozens of potential emergencies. Point 4. The heat-reflecting lifesaver. The final item for this segment is heavy-duty aluminum foil. A 25-square-foot roll costs about $50, and it is a piece of gear with capabilities that most people drastically underestimate. They see foil and think of cooking or covering leftovers. That's thinking too small. This item's true power lies in its incredible heat reflectivity. About 90 search and rescue teams spotted stranded individuals during past emergencies because they were using a piece of foil to flash sunlight. Wrapped around a branch or waved by hand, the intense flash it creates is visible for miles, acting as a high-powered, no battery-required emergency signal mirror. That same reflectivity can save you from freezing. If you're caught in the cold without adequate clothing, wrapping your torso in a layer of foil under your jacket creates a barrier that reflects your own body heat back toward you. It's a low-tech but highly effective way to prevent hypothermia. You can also line the interior walls of your shelter with it to trap and reflect heat from a fire or even just your body, significantly raising the ambient temperature inside. Of course, it excels at cooking. You can shape it into a makeshift pot or bowl to cook food directly in the hot coals of a fire, eliminating the need for heavy cookware and the water needed to clean it. You can even build a solar oven. Line a cardboard box with foil shiny side in, Place a dark-colored pot inside with your food and aim it at the sun. On a clear day, temperatures inside can easily exceed 200 degrees Fahrenheit, enough to cook food thoroughly without using a single drop of fuel. But you must buy the heavy-duty version. Standard household foil is too thin. It rips if you look at it wrong and is useless for any serious application. Heavy-duty foil can be folded, shaped, and reused multiple times without tearing. It can withstand temperatures from well below freezing to over 1,200 degrees Fahrenheit. Here's how to pack it efficiently. Don't just throw the bulky roll in your bag. Pre-fold several large sheets into small, compact squares. You can stack them together, taking up a fraction of the space and preventing the roll from getting crushed or unraveling inside your pack when you need it most. When you do this, you're not just packing foil, you're packing a signaling device, a personal insulator, a cooking system, and a solar oven all in one lightweight, inexpensive package. Point 5. The pocket-sized fire starter you're ignoring. Let's talk about an item that 99% of people, even seasoned preppers, completely misjudge: reading glasses. For $1.50, you can buy a tool that not only enables critical tasks, but also creates fire from sunlight. Most survivalists are obsessed with knives and water filters, but they completely ignore the fundamental ability to see. If you're over 40, your perfect survival kit is instantly compromised. The moment you can't read the fine print on a map, check the dosage on a bottle of medication, or see a splinter lodged in your hand. In a crisis, a simple task becomes impossible without clear vision, and a small mistake can become a fatal one. These cheap glasses solve that problem instantly, but that's just the surface-level benefit. The real power of these glasses lies in their lenses. They are, by design, powerful magnifying glasses, capable of focusing sunlight into a concentrated, intensely hot point. This is basic physics that most people have forgotten. With a pair of Pine 2 or zero magnification reading glasses, and you must get this strength or higher, you can ignite tinder in under 30 seconds of direct sunlight. Forget fumbling with wet matches or a depleted lighter. As long as the sun is in the sky, you have a reliable, reusable fire starter. You just need to practice finding the focal point, that tiny, brilliant dot of light where the energy is concentrated, and hold it steady on your tinder. It's a skill, and like any skill, it needs to be practiced before you're freezing in the dark. For the price of a coffee, you're buying the power of Prometheus. The frames are flimsy and will break, but that's the point. They are disposable tools. Buy 5 pairs, keep one in your car's glove box, one in your get-home bag, one in your primary bug-out bag, and one in your medical kit. Use the 5th one to practice with until starting a fire this way becomes second nature. There is no excuse for not having multiple backups of such a critical multi-purpose tool when they cost next to nothing. This isn't just about reading. It's about fundamental capability and having a fire-starting method that never runs out of fuel. Point 6. The petroleum jelly powerhouse. Next is an item so common it's practically invisible, yet it's one of the most versatile survival resources you can buy. Petroleum-based lip balm. For about 50 cents a tube in a multi-pack, you are purchasing a waterproof fire starter, a long-burning emergency candle, a friction-reducing skin protectant, and a waterproofing agent. Anyone who just sees it as a remedy for chapped lips is dangerously short-sighted. Its true value is in its core ingredient, petrolatum. This is a stable, energy-dense petroleum product, and it is survival gold. The most immediate and critical use is for fire starting. Take a cotton ball, work a generous amount of the lip balm into its fibers, and you've created a waterproof tinder that will burn for 3 to 5 solid minutes. That's a huge burn time, more than enough to dry out and ignite damp twigs and kindling in the middle of a downpour. One single tube can produce dozens of these fire starters. The utility doesn't end there. Need an emergency light source? Take the tube of lip balm, stick a small piece of cotton or a Q-tip wick into the top, and light it. You've just created a micro candle that can burn for hours, providing enough light to navigate a dark room or read instructions. In cold weather, this stuff is a lifesaver. Applying a thin layer to exposed skin, your nose, ears, and cheeks, creates a barrier that helps prevent windburn and frostbite, a technique used by the military for decades. If you're facing a long journey on foot, rubbing it on your heels and between your toes will drastically reduce friction, preventing the blisters that can cripple you in a survival situation. It can also be used to lubricate sticky zippers, condition and waterproof leather boots, and even prevent rust on your tools and knife blades. But you must check the ingredients. It needs to be petroleum-based. The all-natural or beeswax-based versions won't work for these applications. For the absurdly low cost, there's no reason not to have a dozen of these tubes stashed everywhere in your bags, your vehicle, and your pockets. Point 7. The disposable water purifier and tinder. Let's move to the kitchen aisle for an item that punches far above its weight class. The simple paper coffee filter. You can get a pack of 100 for less than $2, and their value in a grid-down scenario is immense, particularly for water management. When municipal water systems fail and all you have are questionable sources like ponds or rain barrels, these filters become your first line of defense. They are not purifiers. Let's be brutally clear about that. They will not remove bacteria, viruses, or chemical contaminants. You must still boil or chemically treat the water to make it safe. However, what they do is act as a hyper-effective pre-filter. By layering 2 or 3 filters together and pouring murky water through them, you will remove an astonishing amount of sediment, algae, insect larvae, and other visible gunk. The water that comes out the other side, while still biologically unsafe, will be visually clear. This step is critical. It prevents your primary water filter from clogging, makes chemical treatments more effective, and ensures you aren't boiling and drinking sludge. At about 2 cents per filter, this is the cheapest and most effective pre-filtration system you can get. Beyond water, coffee filters are excellent. Multi-purpose survival material. They are made of paper, which means they are tinder. Shred a few filters into a fluffy pile, and it will catch a spark from a ferro rod with ease, burning long enough to get your kindling going. Because they come in a sterile package, they can be used as an improvised wound dressing in a pinch. Stack several together to create an absorbent pad to place over a cut until you can apply a proper bandage. In environments with poor air quality from smoke or dust, you can fold a filter and place it inside a bandana or cloth mask to add an extra layer of particulate filtration. They are also lint-free, making them perfect for cleaning gun barrels, lenses, or glasses without leaving residue. Store them in a zip-top bag to keep them dry and compressed. They take up virtually no space or weight in a pack. For a couple of dollars, you're buying 100 chances to get clean water, start a fire, and handle a dozen other small but critical tasks. Point 8. The indestructible shelter and carrier. Forget the flimsy kitchen bags on every generic prepper list. We're talking about their big brother, the contractor-grade trash bag. The key detail, the one that separates a useful tool from a useless piece of plastic, is the thickness. You need bags that are a minimum of 3 mils thick. Dollar stores and hardware stores sell them, and for just a few dollars, you get an asset that can function as a shelter, a water collection system, a poncho, and more. A standard kitchen trash bag is barely 1.5 mils thick. It will puncture and tear if you look at it the wrong way. A 3 mil contractor bag is a different animal entirely. It's designed to hold broken drywall, splintered wood, and other construction debris without failing. That's the level of durability you need when your life depends on it. Its most obvious use is as an emergency shelter. Cut one open along its seams, and you instantly have a large, completely waterproof tarp, typically 6 by 8 feet or larger. Strung up with a rope or even just draped over a low-hanging branch, it will keep you dry in a serious downpour. You can also use it as a ground sheet to provide a moisture barrier between you and the wet, cold ground, preventing heat loss while you sleep. Another critical function is rainwater collection. Use it to line a hole in the ground or spread it out to catch rainfall, funneling gallons of relatively clean water for purification. In a disaster, you can also wear one, cut holes for your head and arms, and you have an instant full-body rain poncho that will keep you and your gear dry. If you need to cross a body of water, you can fill one with your gear, trap air inside, and use it as a makeshift flotation device. Buy them in both black and clear. Black bags are ideal for waste disposal in a sanitation emergency or for creating a solar still to distill water. Clear bags are better for water collection, allowing you to see any contaminants. These bags fold down into small, dense squares. You can easily carry 10 of them in the space a pair of socks would occupy. This isn't just a trash bag, it's a portable, indestructible, multi-function survival system. Point 9. The instant wound sealer. Let's discuss an item that belongs in every single first aid kit, yet most people only associate it with broken coffee mugs. Super glue. Specifically, cyanoacrylate adhesive. You can get a multi-pack at the dollar store for $1 or $2, and what you're buying is a battlefield-tested medical device disguised as a household adhesive. The history here is critical. The original formula for superglue was discovered by accident, but its potential was realized during the Vietnam War, where medics used it as a spray to seal battlefield wounds quickly, stop bleeding, and buy soldiers enough time to get to a field hospital. This isn't a prepper myth, it's documented history. The medical-grade version, called Dermabond, costs a fortune. The dollar store version is chemically almost identical and provides a bond strength that is more than sufficient for closing minor to moderate lacerations in an emergency. Here's how you use it. And you need to pay attention to get this right. First, the wound must be thoroughly cleaned and dried. This isn't optional. Sealing dirt and bacteria inside a wound is a recipe for a life-threatening infection. Once it's clean, pinch the edges of the cut firmly together so the skin is flush. Then apply a thin, even layer of the superglue on top of the closed wound, not inside it. You're creating an external suture, a waterproof bandage that holds the skin together so it can heal from underneath. Hold it for 30-60 seconds, and you've just performed a procedure that can prevent serious infection and blood loss when professional medical help is unavailable. Of course, this is for emergencies. Deep, gaping, or heavily bleeding wounds require immediate professional care. But for the vast majority of common cuts you'd get in a crisis, this works. Beyond first aid, its uses for gear repair are endless. It will bond plastic, rubber, wood, and even metal, allowing you to make critical field repairs to broken equipment. Add a sprinkle of baking soda to the wet glue and you create a chemical reaction that forms an instant, rock-hard plastic filler, perfect for repairing cracks or filling gaps. Just remember to buy multiple small, sealed tubes. Once you open a tube, its shelf life plummets. It's better to use a whole small tube and toss it, than have a large one dry out. Point 10. The unbreakable binding. Next up is an item that's criminally underrated: heavy-duty zip ties. And I'm not talking about the flimsy little things you use for managing computer cables. I'm talking about industrial-strength ties at least 8 inches long, with a tensile strength of 50 pounds or more. For a couple of dollars, you get a bundle of what are essentially disposable, unbreakable straps. In a survival scenario, cordage is king, and while paracord is great, zip ties offer a speed, strength, and simplicity that rope can't match. When high winds are tearing at your emergency shelter, you don't have time to be tying complex knots that might slip. Looping a heavy-duty zip tie through a tarp grommet and cinching it down on a tree branch creates a connection that simply will not fail. Survivors of major storms have specifically credited zip ties with keeping their makeshift shelters from being ripped apart. Their applications in emergency first aid are also critical. If someone has a suspected fracture, you can improvise a splint using sticks or even rolled-up magazines, but you need a way to secure it to the limb. Zip ties provide immediate and firm compression, immobilizing the injury and preventing further damage until you can get proper medical attention. They are the ultimate tool for field expedient repairs. A broken backpack strap, a busted zipper pull, a loose tool handle, all of these can be fixed in seconds with a zip tie, creating a durable repair that will hold under significant load. You can also use them to lash gear to the outside of your pack or even create improvised snowshoes by strapping evergreen boughs to your boots. And yes, in a worst-case scenario, they can be used as emergency restraints for personal security. The key is to buy the right kind. Get the 8-inch or 12-inch heavy-duty versions. The smaller ones are mostly useless for serious tasks. It's also smart to get them in multiple colors: bright orange or white for trail marking, and black for gear repairs where you want a lower profile. A bundle of 100 ties weighs almost nothing and takes up minimal space, yet it provides hundreds of solutions to problems that could otherwise be catastrophic. Point 11. The giant, versatile skin. Move over. Shower curtain. It's time to talk about the real MVP of large format coverage, the plastic painter's drop cloth. This is an item that most preppers walk right past because it's in the hardware aisle, not the camping section. That's a huge mistake. For $3 to $5, you can get a sheet of plastic that is typically 9 by 12 feet. That's 10 to 8 square feet of waterproof material. To put that in perspective, that is 3 times the coverage of the shower curtain liner we discussed earlier. This is not some flimsy piece of plastic. These drop cloths are usually between 2 and 4 mils thick, making them significantly more durable and puncture-resistant than trash bags or most other cheap plastic sheeting. This single item is a force multiplier for your survival plan. Its primary function is as a massive, instant shelter. With 10 to 8 square feet of material, you can easily construct an A-frame or lean-to shelter large enough to protect a small family from the elements. The sheer size allows you to create a shelter with ample headroom and space to store gear out of the rain. It also serves as an impermeable ground tarp. Laying this down before you set up your sleeping area provides a complete barrier against ground moisture, which is critical for preventing the slow creeping hypothermia that can set in from sleeping on damp ground. Its size also makes it an incredibly efficient rainwater collection system. Simply spread it out and create a low point in the center, and you can collect dozens if not hundreds of gallons of clean drinking water during a sustained rainstorm. Here's the pro move. Don't keep it as one giant sheet. Cut it into 4 equal pieces. Now, instead of one massive tarp, you have 4 highly versatile 4, 5 by 6 foot tarps. You can use one for a personal shelter, one as a ground cloth, one to waterproof your gear, and still have a spare. Look for these in the spring and fall when stores stock up for painting season. For the cost and the sheer amount of material you get, there is no other item that provides this level of shelter and water collection capability for the price. Point 12. The disposable lifesaver. This next item is the one that performed a function during Hurricane Helene that nobody saw coming. We're talking about the ultra-cheap, disposable poncho. You can get them in multi-packs for $1 or $2, and most people dismiss them as single-use junk for tourists caught in a drizzle. That underestimation is a critical error. Yes, they will keep you from getting soaked in a sudden downpour, but their true survival value lies in their absolute waterproofness and their ability to be used for things other than wearing. A woman in the aftermath of Helene kept her life-saving insulin viable for over a week, completely cut off from help or electricity, by wrapping the vials in multiple layers of these cheap ponchos. They created a perfect waterproof and temperature-stable barrier that protected her medicine when everything else had failed. That's not just staying dry, that's staying alive. This concept of creating micro-waterproof environments is a game-changer. Your critical electronics, your fire-starting kit, your important documents, your spare ammunition, all of it can be sealed inside a poncho, wrapped tight with tape, and become 100% immune to water. But the most overlooked application is for preventing hypothermia. Wearing one of these ponchos underneath your insulating layers, your fleece or jacket, creates a vapor barrier. It stops your body heat from escaping through evaporative cooling, trapping a layer of warm, moist air against your skin. It feels strange, but it is a proven technique to keep your core temperature up in dangerously cold and wet conditions. Furthermore, these ponchos are essential components for building a solar still to produce drinking water. Dig a hole, place a collection container at the bottom, cover the hole with the poncho, and place a small rock in the center to create a drip point. The sun's heat will cause moisture in the soil to evaporate, condense on the underside of the plastic, and drip clean distilled water into your container. You won't get gallons, but you'll get enough to survive. For less than 50 cents a piece, there is no excuse not to have 20 or 30 of these. They are so light and compact you can stash them everywhere. In your car, your desk at work, every pocket of your backpack. They are disposable, which means you can use them aggressively for any task without worrying about ruining an expensive piece of gear. Point 13. The Universal Survival Compound. Let's get to one of the most ridiculously useful substances on the planet, pure petroleum jelly. You can find a jar of it at the dollar store for a couple of bucks. And that single jar contains more survival applications than a dozen other pieces of gear combined. This isn't just for chapped lips or dry skin. This is a fire starter, a skin protectant, a waterproofing agent, a rust inhibitor, and an emergency light source. All in one stable, inexpensive package. A sealed jar has an almost indefinite shelf life. We're talking years, even decades. The most critical application is fire. Take a handful of cotton balls and work a generous amount of petroleum jelly into the fibers until they are completely saturated. Store these in a small waterproof container like an old pill bottle or a film canister. You have just created one of the most reliable fire starters known to man. Each one of these jelly-soaked cotton balls will take a spark from a ferro rod instantly and burn with a hot, steady flame for several minutes, long enough to dry out and ignite damp kindling in the worst condition. One jar can produce hundreds of these, giving you an almost endless supply of tinder. The uses for protecting your own body are just as crucial. In a cold weather emergency, apply a thin layer to any exposed skin, your face, ears, hands, before you head out. It creates a barrier against the wind and moisture that significantly reduces the risk of windburn and frostbite. This is a time-tested technique used by mountaineers and military personnel operating in Arctic conditions. If you're forced to travel long distances on foot, rubbing petroleum jelly on your feet, especially between the toes and on the heels, will prevent the friction that leads to debilitating blisters. It also has a place in gear maintenance. You can use it to condition and waterproof leather boots, lubricate zippers, and apply a thin coat to your knives and tools to prevent rust. Fill a small, non-flammable container like a metal tin with petroleum jelly. Insert a cotton wick and you've made a simple lamp that will burn for hours, providing both light and a small amount of heat. The sheer versatility of this one substance cannot be overstated. For the price of a cheap coffee, you are buying a solution to dozens of potential survival problems.